1 billion people are watching the screen. You have 4 seconds to decide whether the ball crossed the line, whether the contact was inside the box, whether the entire tournament tilts one direction or the other. You make the call. You will be replaying that exact moment for the rest of your life. Nobody grows up dreaming of being a referee. You grow up dreaming of being the player. The referee is the person you become when you realize somewhere along the way that you see the game differently than everyone else on the pitch, and that seeing it clearly is its own kind of talent, even if nobody cheers for it. This is your life at every level as a World Cup referee. Level 1. You are 17 years old, and you are reffing an under-12s match on a muddy field because the regular referee called in sick and somebody needed to do it. You have a whistle, a cheap black kit, and absolutely no authority that anyone on this field respects. A parent on the sideline disagrees with a throw-in decision and tells you, loudly, in front of 40 other parents, that you do not know what you are doing. You do know what you are doing. You studied the laws of the game the way other 17-year-olds study for exams they actually care about. You know the offside rule cold. You know exactly when advantage should be played and when it should not be. You are, in this specific and narrow sense, more competent than every adult currently screaming at you. None of that matters on this field. What matters is that you are getting paid $18 for 90 minutes plus abuse, and you keep doing it anyway, because something about the clarity of having one job, watch closely, decide fairly, ignore the noise, appeals to a part of your brain that the chaos of actually playing the game never satisfied. You go home with mud on your knees and a parent's voice still in your head. You sign up for next weekend too. Level 2. You enter the formal pathway. This is the part nobody outside officiating understands. Becoming a referee is not a hobby you stumble into. It is a credentialing system as rigorous as law school, except the bar exam happens in real time, in public, with no opportunity to object or appeal your own performance. You sit through fitness tests that require you to sprint the length of a pitch repeatedly until grown men twice your age are visibly struggling and you are not allowed to stop. You sit through written exams on the laws of the game that are more detailed than most fans realize exist. Entire sections on handball interpretation, entire sections on what constitutes a genuine attempt to play the ball versus a tactical foul. You get assessed. Every single match you officiate for years, someone with a clipboard is watching you specifically, scoring your positioning, your decision-making, your man management, your fitness, building a permanent written record of every mistake you have ever made on a football pitch in a system designed to be unforgiving on purpose. You climb one division, then another. The pitches get better. The crowds get slightly larger. The contempt somehow stays exactly the same size. Level 3. You are officiating professional matches now. This should feel like a rival. In some ways it does. You are good enough, finally, that the Federation trusts you with games that have actual financial stakes, relegation, promotion, prize money, careers. In most other ways, this is the level where you learn what the job actually costs. You make a correct offside call that disallows a goal in the 89th minute of a match that determines whether a club gets relegated. The call's right. Every camera angle confirms it later. None of that matters to the 40,000 people in the stadium who are now chanting something about your mother that rhymes in a language you did not know could rhyme that way. You walk to your car after the match with a police escort, not because you did anything wrong, because you were right in a way that cost specific people specific money, and some percentage of 40,000 angry people will always contain at least a few who are willing to act on that anger. You drive home in silence. You watch the replay of your own decision 11 times that night, the way you have learned to do, checking and rechecking a call you already know was correct, because being correct and being able to fully believe you are correct turn out to be two different psychological states. Level 4. FIFA notices you. This is the moment the dream becomes technically real. You are placed on the international panel, eligible for continental tournaments, World Cup qualifiers, the matches that exist one tier below the absolute biggest stage in the sport. You travel constantly now. Different countries, different football cultures, different unwritten expectations about what level of contact constitutes a foul that you have to learn to read in real time in stadiums where you do not speak the local language and the crowd absolutely does not care. You learn an entirely new skill that has nothing to do with the laws of the game: diplomacy. You learn how to have a quiet word with a captain that de-escalates a situation without anyone watching on television ever knowing the conversation happened. You learn how to manage your face because cameras are on you constantly now, and a referee's facial expression during a controversial moment becomes its own piece of evidence in the court of public opinion that exists entirely on social media within minutes of the final whistle. You are good at this. You are good enough that the Federation starts mentioning your name in a specific context, World Cup panel consideration, and you let yourself, for the first time in years, actually want something out loud. Level 5. VAR enters your life and changes the entire psychological architecture of the job. For the first half of your career, your decision on the pitch was final the moment you made it. Right or wrong, it was yours. And the only verdict that mattered was the one you delivered in real time, under pressure, with your own eyes. Now there is a room full of officials watching the same moment from 12 different camera angles in slow motion, with the explicit authority to tell you, in front of the entire stadium, that the call you made with your naked eyes in real time was wrong. The first time this happens to you on live television, you experience something that does not have a clean name. It is not embarrassment exactly. It is the specific vertigo of having your own perception publicly contradicted by a system that is, by design, more accurate than you. You walk to the pitch side monitor. You watch the replay yourself, on the screen, in front of 80,000 people and a global broadcast audience, and you have to decide in real time whether to overturn your own call. You overturn it. It is the correct decision. It still costs you something that the correctness does not give back. Level 6. The letter arrives. Confirmation. You have been selected for the World Cup panel, out of thousands of qualified referees worldwide, out of a profession with an entire global pyramid of credentialing and assessment. You are one of a small number of people who will officiate matches at the single largest sporting event on the planet. You call your family. They are thrilled in the uncomplicated way people are thrilled when they do not fully understand what the selection actually means, not the honor of it, which they grasp immediately, but the specific exposure of it, the fact that for the next several weeks you will be one of the most scrutinized people in the world, and that scrutiny will not care that you trained for 20 years to get here. You begin a preparation period unlike anything in your career. Fitness testing intensifies. Video review sessions analyze every controversial decision from previous tournaments in forensic detail. You study the playing styles of every team that might cross your path, learning the specific tendencies of players you have never met because the margin between a correct read and an incorrect one at this level is measured in inches and milliseconds. You are, by every measurable standard, as prepared as a human being can be for a job this unpredictable. Somewhere underneath the preparation, that preparation has a ceiling. Level 7. The match is a knockout round. The stakes are existential for both nations. The stadium holds 80,000 people, and the broadcast reaches more than 1 billion. In the 83rd minute, there is a coming together in the penalty area. You have less than 2 seconds to process what you saw. Contact, timing, intent, whether the attacking player initiated it or the defender did, whether this is a penalty that could decide the match or a clean tackle that the attacking player is trying to sell as something it was not. You make the call. You point to the spot. The stadium detonates. Half of it in celebration so total it sounds like the building itself might come apart. Half of it in a fury that you can feel physically, a wall of sound directed at you specifically, 80,000 people who have decided instantly and permanently what kind of person you are based on 4 seconds of your life. VAR reviews it. The review takes 90 seconds that feel like a geological era. The call stands. You were right. It does not matter that you were right. The penalty is scored. The match outcome shifts. and somewhere in a country you have never visited. A nation's entire emotional relationship to this tournament is now permanently associated with your name, your face, a 4-second decision that you will be asked about for the rest of your professional life, regardless of what the data eventually confirms about its accuracy. You finish the match, you walk off the pitch into a tunnel lined with security, because being correct, at this level, does not guarantee that everyone watching will let you leave safely without it. Level 8. The clip is everywhere within minutes, slowed down, sped up, annotated by people with no football background and absolute confidence, set to music, turned into a meme, dissected by former players, turned television pundits who are paid specifically to have a strong opinion, regardless of whether the opinion is correct. You do not look at your phone for 2 days. This is not discipline. This is survival. You have learned, the way every referee at this level eventually learns, that engaging with the noise produces no version of relief, only a deeper and more specific kind of exhaustion. Your federation supports you publicly. Privately, there is a debrief that lasts 4 hours, going through the decision frame by frame, not because anyone doubts you were right, but because the institution itself needs to be able to demonstrate, to a global audience that has already made up its mind, that the process behind the call was sound. You sit in that room and answer questions about 4 seconds of your life for 4 hours. You think, more than once, about the 17-year-old on the muddy field with the cheap whistle, who thought the hard part of this job was a parent yelling about a throw-in. You did not know yet what hard actually meant. Level 9. You go home. Not immediately. There are more matches in the tournament, more decisions, more nights of replaying moments that strangers online have already decided they understand better than you do, despite never having stood on a pitch with 2 seconds to decide anything. But eventually, the tournament ends, and you go home, and you discover something that nobody warned you about in 20 years of training. You cannot watch football the same way anymore. Not as a fan, not casually. Every match you watch now, your brain runs the same forensic process it runs on the pitch: positioning, contact, intent, advantage, and you cannot turn it off, cannot simply enjoy a game the way you did before you learned to see it this precisely. You have given the sport something significant. 20 years of your life, a level of expertise that exists in only a few hundred people on the planet, the willingness to stand in the middle of the storm and make the call anyway. The sport has given you back something more complicated. A permanent, irreversible change in how you experience the thing you loved enough to dedicate your life to understanding. Your partner asks if you regret it. You sit with the question longer than they expect you to. Level 10. Years later, you are asked to speak to a group of young referees coming up through the same pathway you once climbed. You tell them what nobody told you, that the job will require you to be more confident than you actually feel, in real time, in front of more people than you can fully comprehend, about decisions that will follow you regardless of whether you are right. That being right will not protect you. That the technology designed to make the sport fairer will also make your own perception a matter of public record, replayable forever, available for anyone to disagree with at any time for the rest of your life. That you will eventually stop being able to watch the sport you love the way you once did, and that this loss is permanent, and that almost nobody talks about it because the sport prefers its referees invisible and uncomplaining. One of the young referees asks if you would do it again. You think about the muddy field, the parent's voice, the penalty spot, the tunnel lined with security, the 4-hour debrief, the thing you cannot turn off anymore when you watch a match. You say yes. You mean it. Not because the cost was small, because you were one of a few hundred people on the planet who could see the game clearly enough to be trusted with it, and that clarity, even at the price it demanded, was never something you were willing to trade away. Every referee starts the same way. Invisible, underpaid, and absolutely certain they understand the game better than the people screaming at them. Most of them stay invisible their entire careers. The ones who reach the very top discover that the price of being trusted with the biggest moments in the sport is having those moments replayed, dissected, and judged by people who will never once stand where you stood, with 2 seconds and a whistle and an entire stadium waiting to find out what kind of person you turn out to be. Subscribe. Tell me which level hit different. Drop the next topic below.